I'm very, very sorry. I don't know if it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, but I'm very, very sorry that we cannot meet in person, because I'm a very great fan of face-to-face interactions. So this is the next best thing. We're making a recording. Now this is a very special occasion, and that's because of the great success you have had as ILT student teachers. So that is the reason why we're gathered here today. But before we concentrate on you and your achievements, you must be wondering who this strange little man is talking in front of you. Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a tie. This is the first time I've worn a tie this year, so I've put it on especially for you and for Unisabana. I'm studying Spanish as a foreign language. Unfortunately, my textbook, which is called Living Spanish, was from the 1940s, and the text which I was going to read you has disintegrated. But I'm going to read you a little passage from chapter 2 called La Escuela del Campo. En el centro de la aldea está una escuela blanca y pequeña. El maestro Don Alfonso enseña con entusiasmo. Es un hombre viejo, pero muy simpático, y contesta siempre a las preguntas de los discípulos. Unfortunately, some of the text is gone, but it says that durante la semana, los niños hacen cálculos sencillos y aprenden muchas cosas, escribiendo en cuadernos con pluma y copian letras y palotes en los cuadernos con pluma, disculpe, y leen libros y dibujan el maestro. En cuanto el maestro cuenta un cuento y describe y escuchan con alegría los fatos históricos. Now that's the situation in a school in the 1940s. I apologize. While you were listening, I hope you were trying to identify which languages I speak at home. Now clearly, the situation in this Spanish village is very different to your own situation of teachers, and the attitudes of the pupils are presumably very different from those of your learners. I have thought about these differences while living in the northeast of England for the past 3 years. That's because young people living there in the northeast of England have lives which revolve around electronic sources of information and communication. In buses, on trains, in the streets, young people rarely speak to other human beings. Rather, they listen to their own headphones or they are texting. And this is very true of most young fathers and mothers with children on buses and trains. They are consumed by texting, so they rarely seem to speak to their boys and girls in public. And at home, children are glued to their computer screens or their TV screens. So often, when they arrive for their first day at school at 5 in England, they are unable to react or interact with other children. And this is all because communication is mediated. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm a great fan of IT communication, and that is because I live in Newcastle in northeast England. My wife lives in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and my son and grandchildren live in Perth in Western Australia. So my only contact with them regularly is by email or regularly by Skype. So I'm very much in favour of these forms of communication. And yes, as you probably guessed, my home languages are English and Portuguese. The teaching-learning method in this La Escuela del Campo was very much removed from communicative approaches fostered by ICELT. But you, as teachers of the future, will have to overcome gaps within a society in which electronic devices, which were not known when communicative language teaching was first argued for in the 1980s, are now interfering with genuine face-to-face communication. But enough of my thoughts and myself. Let us now concentrate on the success stories of the stars of the show today, and that is you. And that is why this is a great personal pleasure and professional privilege for me to be with you all today in this celebration of your achievements. Why is it a pleasure for me? Because we are celebrating together the joy of distinctive, unprecedented professional achievements. And why is this a privilege for me? Because I'm sharing a special occasion today with a group of very special people. So why would I argue that you are very special? Well, in all corners of the world, for 12 long, tiring months, our fellow professionals of English language learning and teaching have been sacrificing their leisure activities, their health. They have neglected their families and friends, and they have done this in order to work and study towards postgraduate teaching qualifications from Cambridge University, like the ICELT. And also worldwide, sometimes for 2 years, other professionals of English language teaching and learning have been putting on hold their social lives, their health. They have neglected their families and friendship. Their personal lives are at risk. And they have done this in order to work and study towards a master's degree qualification in teaching and applied linguistics. But here in Colombia, in Bogotá, at the Universidad de La Sabana, something unheard of, something which is out of the question, something, as I said, which is unprecedented, has been attempted, and more than attempted, it has been conquered. And you are here tonight as evidence of that achievement, because all of you teachers here today, while working full-time as EFL practitioners without any form of scholarship, have managed all the rigorous criteria and are receiving your certificates today. And somehow you have studied, read, written, taught, and have been evaluated strictly and successfully in all these skills. And this is not an easy achievement, for you have overcome several well-established cultural barriers. For more than 20 years, one of my own research topics has been contrastive rhetoric, which is the comparison of Brazilian Portuguese and British English and their written prose norms. But to illustrate how you have overcome cultural barriers in achieving the Cambridge ICELT Award, notice that I am reading from a carefully prepared script. In my 13 years of primary and secondary education in the UK, I was trained to speak in public, to debate, but always from a premeditated, planned script. In Britain, spontaneous extemporary speech is mistrusted, so we have a proverb in English, empty barrels make most noise. So education and learning in Cambridge and in the UK is based on the written word. This is learned through isolated blood, sweat and tears for over a decade in school. And this emphasis on writing is reflected and mirrored in the weight put on your written portfolios, your isolated portfolios. Not so. In Brazil, for example, in my adopted homeland, anyone in the urban areas can comfortably stand up and speak in public and talk fluently and correctly. Classroom learning is very often wholly verbal. Brazilians study in pairs or groups and learn by discussing, learn verbally. British people learn visually. Hence, there is almost a total emphasis in British education and in the evaluation of education, including the ICELT, on the written word. And this is something which doesn't match the learning and educational strengths of Brazilians. Now, this is my 13th visit to Colombia, and this is over 14 years. And I am very proud to say that I have visited more Colombian educational institutes than in any other country outside of Brazil. However, I am far from being knowledgeable on Colombian education. But 3 or 4 years ago, I read an article from the Diario del Julia, this is the article here, which suggests that the way you learn in Colombia and your learning norms are closer to Brazil than those in Britain. You are not a letter-writing community. This is why you should be very proud at surmounting the barriers of ICELT. Here it says quite clearly that hoy en día podemos decir que cada colombiana está leyendo 2,2 libros al año. So you are not a reading, writing public. And this is why you should be very proud at surmounting the barriers of ICELT, evaluating your abilities in ways alien to your own schooling experience here in Colombia. And so, my dear colleagues, you have accomplished the unthinkable, for you have been awarded a Cambridge qualification and are also completing a master's degree simultaneously. So this is the only place in the world where this has been achieved. So I'm going to applaud, and I hope you'll applaud, all of you, your fellow colleagues. How have you, my Colombian colleagues, and the Unisabana managed to do what no other institution has even contemplated? Well, your own hard work and determination, but also similar positive attitudes and talents of the teaching staff at the Unisabana. Professores Patricia, Virginia, Sonia, Carolina, who's sadly no longer with us, Albedro and Pedro. Their very careful thinking on aims, their detailed online planning and praiseworthy execution matches the classical cyclical process of teaching and learning. It also incorporates a healthy mixture of professional expertise and wisdom, but most of all, human care and human understanding. So let's applaud the Unisabana staff for their important role in this successful affair. I hope you're clapping. So jointly, all of you here tonight, through hard work, through what we call in Portuguese, garra, that's grit and determination, you have achieved what many people in most parts of the world think to be impossible. And so it is you, my dear colleagues, who should be feeling pleased and privileged and proud. Now, we have already applauded you, the teachers, and we have applauded your tutors. But last, not least, we should forget the essential roles of many people who aren't here today. Now, who are these people? For they too have provided crucial support and sacrifice throughout your study. And here I am thinking of your fathers, your mothers, your sisters, your brothers, your husbands, friends, sons, daughters, fiancés and friends. So let's give them all, finally, our thanks and appreciation. And I cannot finish without arguing that the latest of your own and Unisabana's achievements represent yet one piece of evidence that Colombian citizens are very special people. For it is with the qualities which you have displayed, grit, flexibility, creativity, intuitive intelligence, coupled together with sheer, long-standing hard work, that you will no doubt ensure a rosy future for yourselves, your family, and your country, Colombia. Which is why, after observing here this week in Chía, I've seen 4 teachers, I am provoked into giving you one piece of advice from this old fart. Remember that there's always a chance that in one of your classrooms it will contain a student who is a genius. Remember that our students are always more capable when we think. So please don't understand them with the trivia of this global world. While not ignoring their effective side, surely we know that learning is not only fun and games. Surely we can find topics more stimulating than TV show personalities, popular music singers, Hollywood stars. Rather, as you do, we can stimulate and enhance our students' cognitive skills with topics which will enrich their lives in more subtle ways. Now I know that you are converted. You believe this too, so forgive me for preaching to the converted.
En cuanto a mi enseñanza del inglés, he notado que ha mejorado muchísimo desde que empecé mi maestría en la Universidad de La Sabana. Me ha hecho reflexionar sobre los aspectos positivos y negativos que tengo en mi profesión y me ha ayudado muchísimo.
Soy de la Universidad de La Sabana, de la maestría de didáctica del inglés, la cual me ha dado beneficios personales y profesionales. Beneficios profesionales desde el componente ICELT para ser certificado como profesor de inglés internacional y desde el componente investigativo que le brinda la posibilidad a mi institución de tenerme como pieza clave para el desarrollo del bilingüismo que el colegio está llevando a cabo.
Finally, I have to say that Colombia represents for me a very special place in my own professional and personal developments. Most of us here grew up in monolingual cultures and societies. In this way, we are a minority on our planet, where the huge majority of people are multicultural and multilingual. But your country, Colombia, is making a very special stride in creating a bilingual educational system. And this is a first. Of course, there are many bilingual and multilingual countries in the world, but in Colombia, this is being achieved from the beginning, from scratch. And this too represents a determination and ambition that's rarely seen in other countries. And these bilingual policies also mean that you, as professionals with newly acquired pedagogic experience, know-how and qualifications, can look forward to a rich and fulfilling professional future. And you certainly deserve nothing less. And what might be your crucial role in enriching and expanding Colombia's educational development? Well, in a sense, the ICELT and the master's degree will, I hope, be your professional springboards, for you will have expert, hands-on experience of student-centered learning in autonomous pedagogy and in the possibilities of disseminating professional knowledge through action research via various online websites. So I trust that you will be the catalysts, the cascaders and promoters of new professional communities. You can first create working groups among your close institutional colleagues, in your own schools, and then encompass wider horizons, virtual and geographical, to expand and enhance teacher interaction and development. So that is my prayer for all of you here tonight, that you have the very best of luck for colourful, rich and rewarding future lives. Thank you.